President-elect Donald Trump is looking to get rid of wasteful regulation, just as he is pushing for better deals with major U.S. corporations to enhance the economy. Bart Chilton is former commissioner at the U.S. Commodity Futures Trading Commission and DLA Piper senior policy advisor. Thank you so much for joining us, Bart. So there has been a huge battle brewing between people who feel like they are free market economists and don't like what Donald Trump is saying, and other people who are saying we don't have a free market right now. We have a lot of disparity between places in terms of regulation and taxation. It's not a level playing field, as it is, and Donald Trump is trying to make it flatter. What do you think? Where do you come down?
Well, I think the markets are proving, Melissa, that they're doing really well. I mean, as you reported earlier in the show, I mean, the Dow reached a record high at 19,500, record ever. But we've seen similar things that the CME Group in Chicago for financial futures last week at the New York Mercantile Exchange, they had a record. But that could be
based on hope. I mean, that could be based on good feeling and emotion and not sustainable. People worry that's the case. Why do you think that's not the case?
Well, I'm not saying that it's something that's sustainable. I get concerned also that things might be a little bit overheated. But look where we came from, Melissa. I mean, people thought, and I was one of them, quite frankly, that the president-elect, before he was elected, that he was really not going to be that great for the economy. He was so shoot from the hip that there were many things that he said. His policy positions weren't clear. But he sort of did a metamorphosis. It was monumental metamorphosis, in my view. And he's appeared presidential. He's like dealmaker-in-chief now. And I think that has given confidence to markets. Now, the question is whether or not he can go further, right, and do things in the longer term, not just these one-off deals.
Right. So let me ask you about that, because do you think that they're one-off deals, or do you think that he's setting an example, that he's sort of picking one company out, but he's saying, look, you keep jobs here, and I will make it better for you to do business here. I'm going to follow through in the long run. One thing you focus on, he's got to produce a lot of energy, so that energy is cheap for businesses that are trying to work here. And we talk about regulation and taxation, but do you think they're one-off deals, or is he setting a tone?
Well, I think he is setting a tone. I wouldn't be surprised if this continues throughout his administration. And, quite frankly, even though I was a government guy for 30 years, I mean, more power to him for shaking things up. And I'm glad that he's doing these sort of out-of-the-box things. But he'll run into some headwinds with inside the Beltway here in D.C. With rules and regulations and the bureaucrats. But I think it is a good thing. But whether or not he can get to these big-picture issues like tax reform, like infrastructure, the $500 billion infrastructure bill he's proposed, if you can get to those things, those will create jobs and they'll move the gross domestic product. That would be a great thing for the economy and a great thing for the country.
Bart, when I talk to CEOs and all kinds of business people that manufacture overseas, they would rather do business here because when they manufacture overseas, there's hidden costs. There's leakage when the thing doesn't work out in the factory the way you thought. There's all kinds of problems with transportation, or there's inconsistency in the way the product turns out. But they do business there because here the price disparity gets to be so huge between regulation, between labor costs, all the different things that you have to go through. Do you think that if he was able to make that price disparity flatter or smaller, that business would prefer to come home, or is that a myth?
No, I think that's a good premise, and I agree with it. But he's got to put a little bit of meat on the bones. Remember, where is the beef? I mean, he says we're going to get rid of wasteful regulation. Well, where's the list? What is it? I mean, you and I have talked many times over the years about Dodd-Frank, something I worked for years on. And I won't suggest that every part of Dodd-Frank is great, but Dodd-Frank saved us from having the large financial institutions take huge risky bets that got us into the economic debacle we're currently trying to dig our way out of. I don't think the people that voted for Mr. Trump want to get rid of protections that guard against risky bets by the largest of the large financial institutions. So I'd like to see a list. What are these wasteful regulations? I know they're out there, and so does Mr. Trump. But we want to see the beef. You
want to see more meat in the bone. Where's the beef? I like that, Bart. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate your time.
Good to be with you.
Yep.